he had some new shoes, and he was in elementary school, 3rd or 4th grade, and he came home from school and he went straight back to his room and was fiddling around, and he came out with a pair of shoes, brand new shoes, and he held them up. He's like, "Mom, I don't wear these shoes anymore, do I?" And I'm thinking, "Yeah, you just wore them the day before yesterday." And I said, "Why, Corey? What are you doing? What's the matter?" He's like, "Well, there's this boy at school that has, his shoes are real dirty and they have holes in them, and you can see his socks." And he's like, "I just want to give him my shoes."
And I hadn't talked with him for a while. It was just a mutual friend that kind of right. And then that very next morning,
he was at a friend's house, and he had only known him for about a month, and there was an antique gun there, and Corey, he's always been fascinated with things, guns and stuff, and I never really allowed him to have them as a kid because I think it's silly to have a toy as a gun. So he was as he was fiddling around with it, he just pulled the trigger, and it was loaded, and the other kids said that they didn't know that it was loaded, and it shot him. And yeah.
How old was he?
He was going to be 17 in just a couple weeks, so he was down with visiting my mom.
That's the first time I've heard the story. I became sick in September of '06. I was in the hospital. They thought it was diverticulitis. I think it was probably congestive heart failure at that point. And my heart started acting up, which it had done several times over the years, and I had been tested. I'd had every test done that you can do, and they never found anything. So this time, but it was never acting up when I would go to the doctor. So here I was in the hospital, and it started doing it. I wasn't concerned, but I called the nurse in and said, listen to this. They panicked. I think they had the crash cart out there, and they called the doctor in from home. This was late at night, and put me in a monitored bed then. 3 days later, he said, "Your heart's fine. Do you want to go home?" I said, "Sure." And I went right out and made an appointment with the cardiologist because I knew it wasn't fine. But I ended up back in intensive care, in the emergency room and in intensive care before I could keep that appointment 2 weeks later. And they told me my heart was only functioning at 10 to 15% of its capacity. And I work in the medical field, so I knew what they were saying, that it was just not good news. And it was just, waited 3 months on a pacemaker defibrillator because I wanted to try to get the one with 3 leads. They said that was the only one that I might stand a chance of getting some improvement from, and they make you wait 12 weeks on that. And I was doing okay up till right before they put it in, and then I started going downhill, and it was just, they put it in, I think, in December, and in January I was back in the hospital. In February I was back in, and the cardiologist had mentioned transplant. He wasn't going to push it on anybody, but he had just mentioned, that might be my only choice. And we finally said, let's go for it. So they sent me over to Methodist and did the workup. And,
how long were you on the waiting list for a heart?
19 months. 19 months. And after I got transplanted, they said that I was the hardest one they had ever had to match. They said they threw the book at me harder than they had at anybody else, chemotherapy treatments and IVIG treatments and whatever so it's just a miracle. I mean, Corey, her sorrow, my joy, it's just a miracle because they had just agreed to list me at other hospitals, which I was in an experimental program because I had a heart pump. And when you sign on for that, you agree that you won't list anywhere else. But they decided that I was an unusual case, and they were going to let me list elsewhere because too much time was passing by. So,
Amanda, what was the first thing that came into your mind?
First thing I wanted to do was just grab a hold of her.
And hear her baby's heart.
I mean, I seen her face, but I didn't see her face. I just seen Corey and his heart, and it just made me so happy. And because when he was in the hospital, they scooted him over in the bed where I could lay next to him, and
There's that picture of you holding his hand, whatever. It's on the internet.
I just put my head on his chest and I memorized his heartbeat, the rhythm and everything. And when I got to hold her, I just felt thump thump, and she was nervous.
So it was beating good.
So it was
It's strong.
beating hard and strong, and it's just, I'm just so happy she's here. I'm just so happy
I'm so
that
happy to meet you.
I'm happy that she's healthy, and she's gonna be in my life
Forever. Yeah. New family. New family. New family.